All right, hey boys and girls, it's David here. I'm here with Hélio.
Hi.
Hélio's going to talk a little bit about his experience, FCE and the CAE, right? The big English test.
Yeah, FCE, first things first. FCE is first certificate for English. It's from Cambridge, and CAE is certificate of advanced English from Cambridge as well. And besides that, there's also CPE, which is proficiency. There are three tests that you apply. It's provided by Cambridge University, and well, we don't have to go to England to apply to that, of course. Yeah.
So let's just take a rundown here. The first test is the FCE, right?
Yeah, the first two of them are FCE and CAE. Right, and it's been 20 years now, and I went to England, not especially because of the certificates. I really did go to England and applied there, and I was successful in both of them. It was kind of an adventure.
It was an adventure?
Yeah, 22 years old.
Did you know anybody in England?
Nobody. It was completely crazy because, you know, I knew English, of course. I spoke English a bit, and it happened very fast. I called some people in São Paulo and said, hey, I'd like to go to a foreign country. And say, why don't you go to England? It's okay. I'm going to England just for the hell of it. And 6 months later, 7 months later, I was in an airplane, which was crazy because I had never been abroad anyways. I had actually never been to a big city. Really. And
like Tarzan going to New York City.
Yeah.
London, in this case.
Completely so. And it was funny because when I arrived in São Paulo, I realized that people didn't plan so much, and it's colder. I found out that there was nobody waiting for me there. I had not a family host, as they say. I said, gee, how about it?
Your friend just said, oh, you should go to London?
Yeah, and I called him, and hey, there's nobody here. I said, okay, there's nobody. Don't panic. You can go. Right when you arrive there, we're going to give you an address and the name of the people. You're going to be okay. You speak English, that's okay. Okay, that's all right. You're so right. And I thought to myself, okay, it's no problem. I took the plane, and 12 hours later, 13 hours later, after a stopover in France, which was horrible because I didn't speak French, I arrived in England at the airport of Heathrow Airport. And for my surprise, my luggage was not there.
Yeah, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding. True. I was in
luggage went to Japan.
To Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands. And the girl told the girl at the airport, hey, no, don't. everybody tried to ease me down. No, don't worry. Everything is okay. Everything is all right. Your luggage is in Netherlands, but it's just 1 hour from here. So in a couple of hours, it's going to be here. So okay. So 2 hours in the airport. There, and it was at night. So I think it was about 10 at night, 10 p.m. I waited for the luggage, and when the luggage finally came, I got it. I had at this moment talked to Brazil and had taken my family's name, my host family's name and address. It was in a city in the coast. It's called Ramsgate. It is in the coast. It's 2 hours from London. And so now I got the names, I got the address. How do I get there? It's another problem because it was at night. It was closing to midnight, and I had no idea because I hadn't studied, the city.
You didn't have Google Maps.
we didn't have Google Maps. I wouldn't do that nowadays because before you go in a travel like this, you study the country, you study the geography. Yeah, exactly.
You made no plans.
No, I didn't. I said, gee, how will I get there? So I started, getting instructions, getting my orientation. So I went to the airport. The staff said, hey, how do I get to Ramsgate? They go, she was very polite, extremely polite. Said, it's okay, no problem. You're going to be okay. You take the subway, and hey, can't I go by cab? No, I got some money. Like my cab is much better for me. No, they're going to rob you. It's 2 hours from here. You're going to spend a small fortune to get there. And so she made a map. She drew a map, and I got to the subway. It was quite alright. I arrived in Ramsgate by 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was waiting for me. But very good people, excellent people from New Zealand, and everything was all right. But then I studied. I ended up actually having 15 days for free because they had not planned, seriously, and I ended up having a fortnight for free, and I studied there for four months, and I got to take the certificates.
You studied like in a school, or
it was in a school,
a private school?
Private school. It's a Churchill House. Churchill House. Very good staff, very good teachers, very good. Everything was good. People from all over the world. People from Saudi Arabia. I made a great deal of friends there.
All over the world.
From all over the world.
Anywhere you go in the world today,
I got acquaintances. It was everything all right. But I know you want me to talk about when I came down here.
Interesting information. Just a quick question. The course you studied all day, half a day?
Yeah, they call it full board. You go in the morning and go in the afternoon. You have the evenings free. You got some free things to do on Saturdays and on Sundays. But you do go to school like an ordinary school. You take exercises. For this class I was in, we had special classes to show the certificates, because one thing is to know English. One thing is to communicate in English, to know English, and completely different thing is to take the certificates. The certificates are formed by 5 papers: writing, speaking, listening, use of English, and you have to excel in all of this to get approved.
So the first test you did was the FCE.
FCE was the first one. It is called the first certificate, and I took it, and I was quite successful. You are graded in 3 levels: A, B, and C. So for FCE, I was A. I got an A. It was excellent. It was very good. For CAE, I got C, which was which is not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
You passed the test.
I passed the test, and for me it was excellent because I was in another country. I had never taken a serious course in Brazil. I spoke English. I could communicate in English.
You had studied like on your own, or you studied in the school?
Before in Brazil, yes. I took some courses here in Brazil at FISC English School, a year and a half perhaps. But mainly I studied by myself, with friends, reading books because I like to read. And I got quite successful. And next year I'm going to apply for CPE.
You did the FCE and the CAE back to back, or you studied, you took one test, and you studied
No. So one day, on Saturday, I got FCE. On Sunday, I got CPE.
the CAE.
CAE. I'm sorry. Yeah, CAE.
Wait, so you said the CAE was like basic, you studied?
Yeah, for together it was an all-together course. I was studying for both of them.
So the tests are similar, it's just that one's harder than the other.
The tests are similar, and one is a bit harder than the other. You don't have to go for CPE for FCE first. You can go to CPE if you wish. If you feel you are capable, if you are prepared, you can go for CPE. There's no problem about it. And you don't have to go to England. You don't have to go abroad to take the test. You can go to Brazil.
Next year you're going to take the CPE.
I'm going to apply for CPE. I've seen some videos. It's not a big deal on the talking, really. You have to, of course, you have to communicate in a good level. But the most difficult things, in my opinion, are the other tests. Are written tests, for instance. You have to write an essay, an article, or a letter. Both trying to assess your ways on formalities, the levels of formalities. And use of English is a very, very, very hard test. Listening is not a big deal because you're going to listen to educated people, so it's not a big deal. But writing papers very, very, very hard, and the use of English is very, very hard too. No grammar, but you have to know your ways on expressions, idiomatic expressions, or slangs. Not many slangs, but particularities of British English. And one important thing, you're not supposed to speak British English. You can speak international English, because none of us speak American or British. People who speak English as a second language, they speak international English as we see nowadays. We speak nowadays.
Talk about what you were saying earlier about the use of you watching that channel, Al Jazeera, I think.
Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera it's an incredible TV network. It's a TV network from Qatar, and it was a discovery for me because you can listen to a great deal of accents. And you come to realize that it's not how much you know. It's not quantity, it's not how many words you know, how many expressions you know, it's not how many grammar you know, it's how you use words. So you can see politicians, very important politicians, prominent businessmen. They can speak English, but you can clearly see their knowledge in English is really limited, but it is not a stumbling block. No, it's not.
They can still express their ideas.
Completely so. They express their ideas, and of course they can express their ideas much better than I do, even with the limited English. So it's not how much you know. It's not how many words you know, it's not how much grammar you know, it's not about that at all. It's how much you can get message across.
Mm-hmm. All right. You talk a little bit about the actual tests themselves, what they're like for people who are thinking about taking the test. For example, the FCE, how was that?
Well,
like, is there a certain order? First you do the writing, then the...
It is. It's people who are familiar with vestibular here in Brazil will be completely adapted because you're going to have 5 papers, right? You're going to have each paper has a time limit for you to follow. For writing, for the paper of writing, for instance, you are asked to write an article or an essay or a formal letter or a complaint letter for an enterprise, for instance. Writing is basically this. Use of English is basically some particular things of the language. Phrasal verbs, for instance, are very important. Idiomatic expressions are extremely important. They don't give you alternatives. It's not like you're going to choose a right alternative. You have to think by yourself. You have to put it's a text full of blanks. So, and since you don't have alternatives to fill in the blanks, you have to realize by yourself. It's very difficult. It's not easy, but it's okay. You can do it. As I said in the beginning, it's not. It is language, of course, but it's not language itself. It's the exam itself. So if you're going to apply for it, if you Google, for instance, for mock certificates or mock exams, mock CAE, mock FCE, you're going to have huge information and past exams, so that you can drill, so that you can exercise. So it's nice.
In the FCE and the CAE are basically the same basic format.
The basic, yeah, it's the same format. CPE is a bit different. CPE it's a challenge. They ask you to read some books. They ask you to read Shakespeare, for instance, and you have to write, for instance, an article about a book. And it's pretty much the same as the vestibular. So you're going to prepare for vestibular. You're going to prepare to CPE. It's basically the same.
So how are you preparing for the CPE for next year?
I've got some difficulties. It's writing difficulties and speaking difficulties. Not because I can't speak English. I know I can't speak English. I know I can communicate. I know a good level, as it were, but I stammer. Fluency is important, and sometimes I get mixed up because I stammer. It's not a good thing. I have to get over it, and the other papers I don't fear them so much because I'm a good reader. I read books in English, and so I'm not afraid of them. But these two, writing, because I don't write very much. I don't write in a regular basis. It's going to be a bit difficult.
Right. So you studying these mock tests, or you read
I sometimes I take mock tests, mock exams. And there's a book edited by Cambridge University Press. It's on sale. It's on Amazon. If you want to get it as well, you can get it. It's all the past examinations from that year. So I'm buying that. So you have, for instance, 6 or 10 real examinations, real papers. So for you to do. This is a good lead. This is a good way to do it. Yeah, so you just put CPE Cambridge on Amazon's website. It's a bit expensive, but it's okay.
It's an investment.
It is an investment.
Pass the exam.
Yeah, it is an investment. You can learn English a great deal of ways. Unfortunately, you can't learn English classroom. you learn, you know what I mean. It's like you learn much more watching movies, reading books and speaking, using the language than you do in the classroom. So it is a completely good way to go. So use the language as much as you can, and use the language in all of its forms. Like, writing, the writing. You have when I started studying English more than 20 years ago, it was awful because I remember at my school we didn't have a sound system. They were so poor, they couldn't afford. But today is incredibly easy to learn, to improve English, to learn, to be in contact. You go to the internet, you have thousands, millions of sources, and it is really easy. But if I should give an opinion to people who have an intermediate level of English, or even advanced level of English, and want to improve, want to get better, watch CNN, watch Al Jazeera, watch good movies, and go for important subjects, not for simple subjects like you don't go for what does your neighbor do. You don't go for that. That's a waste of time. You go for important, real serious magazines, real serious articles, real good books. You can read a book. You can if you read a book in Portuguese, you can read a book in English. It's basically the same, right? Only that you're going to be practicing your English. You're going to discuss the book anyway, right? You're going to have an opinion on the book anyway. You're going to have to express. For instance, I've talked to you something about books I've read, and it's incredibly easy how you express how you feel about the books, about the plots, about the people in the books. It's incredibly easy. So just don't go for it. Don't fall for that. Don't go for what does your neighbor do? What do you do? No. This is a waste of time.
All right, good information, Hélio, for students who are thinking of doing the FCE or the CAE. Before we go, just to wrap it up, Hélio has a funny story about something that happened to him.
It's terrible. Because we were talking today in the class about frustration, how we are frustrated, how I am shy, by the way. And so I came back to Brazil. And I started going out with this girl. I'm going to use the word girl here because then I was going out with her. She was in college with me. We were in college together, and one day I invited her in, and I was excited. I was going to show her my big feet. Hey, I got my certificate. I was in England. I went to England and I got my certificate, my CAE. Take a look at it. And then she said, "Hey, is that C? Yeah, it's a C. Wait a minute. You have a CAE. Is it because it is graded A, B, and C? How come? So much? No, come on."
This past the most difficult English exam in the universe.
It's like a very difficult thing. It's like the accomplishment of this is huge.
You were so happy.
I was happy because it was not good enough for her. Like, Jesus Christ, she's so cold. So I got very down for it. Thank God we at last, ended up going out together anymore. But you know, I felt terrible at the time. I felt very, very, very bad at the time. I said, gee, bitch. But don't go for that because if you have a C for CAE or C for CPE, even for FCE, it is a very important certificate. Nobody cares, or nobody gives a damn if it is ABC. People who know the thing, people who professionals abroad, for instance, universities abroad, for instance, they don't care. They don't give a damn if you have an ABC. If you say, I got Cambridge certificate, sometimes they don't even know. They don't even ask you which it is. No, it is a very big thing. It is a very big deal. It is a very important paper, right? So just go for it.
I actually read an interesting quote this morning. I don't remember who it was by, but they said, it went something like, the people who matter, no, how does it go? The people who care don't matter.
Yeah.
And the people who don't matter, who don't care, matter. You know? So if they care about it, they're worried about it,
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal.
There are a whole lot of people who are out there just to get you down.
The critics, just to drag you down, get you off your high horse. You do something good, and they come along and want to drag you down into the mud.
This you go. I just, we talked a lot about that earlier. If you go to the USA, if you go to for instance, you go to the USA, you go to Disneyland, you say, hey, but Disneyland? You went to the USA, you went to Disneyland? What's that? How important is that? You know, so people are out there who actually just want you to get you down. Just don't permit it.
That's it. All right, any last words for somebody wanting to take the FCE, or the CAE, or the CPE?
Not only for that, many to study, this very important thing, which is studying foreign language. Go the right way. Right? Many people, it's incredible how I listened to them when I was dealing with English more frequently. Like you have to go abroad to learn a language. No, completely untrue. You don't have to go abroad to learn a second language. It's not true. It is true that people go abroad and can't learn a second language. It is true that, but that's because they didn't do it right? You don't have to, right? You can learn English here in Brazil. You can learn by yourself. Not by yourself, because you're going to have a teacher, you're going to have the school, you're going to have the books, you're going to have internet.
You have to have people to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. But don't fall for that. That's bullshit. I've heard that a lot. Oh, I went to the US and it's completely different from the English taught here. It is not. It is not different. It is the same. Maybe it is the way you receive that it is different. Maybe it's your mind which is different, but it's not the language. Language is the same. Of course, I am Brazilian. If I have never been to Rio Grande do Sul, and it is clear. It is very clear. If I go to Rio Grande do Sul, I will have difficulties to understand people over there. Does it mean that I don't speak Portuguese? Of course not. Right? If I went to Campina Grande and they spoke very different. They spoke a very different accent. They spoke great deal of different words. Does it mean that I don't speak Portuguese? Of course not. So you're going to just one last thing. I was in England and I went to have my hair cut, and it was awful because I sat there and I tried to catch a conversation with the barber, and there was her friend also, and it was very, very difficult to understand it. Jesus, I said, I spoke okay, but to understand it was really like a different language. And I got awful because of that, and I went to my teacher, Deborah. I said, Deborah, I feel very bad. I just gone to the barber to have my hair cut, and I didn't understand, what am I doing here? So she said, hey, you went there in a barber, he doesn't even have a high school. He's an illiterate. He doesn't speak like I do. I'm an educated person, I've been to college, you understand that, because you're studying that, you're not studying that. So, it is like that. You're going to have difficulties when you go abroad. That's true, but it is a matter of getting used to it. A couple of weeks, you're going to be all right. You're going to understand. Maybe you're going to have, of course, you're going to feel that. But just don't feel bad, because in a couple of weeks you're going to be all right. It is much easier to understand educated people when you talk to them, when you listen to them, because of a basic reason. You study that. Okay? You listen to these people in the books. People in these books record things so that you can understand. They train a lot, right? They exercise that a lot, and they want to record people who stammers like me, people who have ordinary people. They get professional people. So you will understand that those people. You won't understand people on the streets. That's for at least not immediately, but. That's how it works, you know. That's it.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Hélio.
Thank you.
All that information and advice and your stories. So I hope that helps other people who are preparing for these tests as well. So
Yeah, thank
very
you.
good information.
Right.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.